unless you're an old pro who feels no anxiety when reading. So shall we? We're recording
I just
now.
hit record. Yeah.
All right. So welcome everyone to week 3, season 47, year 24 of the KGB Monday Night Poetry series. It's a great honor to have Laura Cronk back at KGB, a series that she once curated along with Megan Jimenez and Michael Quattroni, who is also in the house tonight. And it's especially and it's especially nice to have Laura back to celebrate a new book, Ghost Hour, newly out from Persea Books. It's a book of great variety in terms of its style and also in the feelings that it deals in. Given enough time, you become amazed how long you have known someone. And I have loved the details in Laura Cronk's poems for almost 20 years now. Quotidian nouns like glowing white shoes have a way of giving off so much light in her poems, filling them with feeling. The details in Laura's poems never feel curated like the objects in the window of a boutique. They seem to arrive as a result of irresistible personal attachments, vibrating with the power of recollected sense memories. And yet here's a poet who writes, in the evenings and on weekends, I make the decisions, one by one, mid-century with a Victorian nod, farmhouse minimalism, scavenger maximalism with a sense of humor and on a budget. She's not talking about her poems here, but she might as well be. Those who are good at choosing aren't typically observed as being choosy. And I think this describes Laura. You get the sense of how good she is at choosing when you see a poem of hers pass through several drafts. You learn that she is a maker. Ancestry, the opening poem of Ghost Hour, unfolds along an ingenious generative engine. She lays out the conceit of an alternative world in only 2 tercets, tacitly positing the world of this poem as a realer reality than the one we most often occupy. She writes, I never know who is looking out from my eyes, sadistic German Catholic or silent Appalachian clockmaker. The sky is so blue today as I drag the neighbor boy to the bus, the onion farmer in me against the army vet in him. From there, the poem can unfold. The conceit is so good you could give it to students as a prompt, as Joe Brainerd's I Remember is given. It's a sort of poem that could beget a line of ducklings of poems after Laura Cronk's ancestry. You know, the kind that are going around now. Laura's been a poet in and around New York and New Jersey for enough years now. Her tendencies to speak in a serious tone, to focus on her subject, to speak plainly, and even to sail for stretches by the star of beauty are not the poetic gestures most regularly associated with New York school poets and their descendants. But Laura's a poet that has learned much from the New York school. Even in her serious poems, she manages to modulate tones. She reacts to herself, injecting poems with fresh intonation, which is to say, freshly communicated feeling. There's more than a whiff of the New York school and its legacy in lines like the one from her excellent prose poem, Mythological Rate Painting. The horse has a horn, which really, we get it. Wonderful line. I had the great joy of reading Ghost Hour front to back this morning. The poems bear Laura's seal. They're warm with fellow feeling, but emotionally complicated. I continue to admire the presence of other people in Laura's poems. She doesn't write a 21st century selfie stick kind of poetics. Her other book is Having Been an Accomplice, also from Persea. Her poems have been widely published in Best American Poetry, in many journals, essays, places like Gawker and Lit Hub. She teaches at the New School in New York City, and we are so happy to have her back at KGB. Laura Cronk.
Matt, I'm a little verklempt now. Thank you so much. It means so much to me to be here, to be introduced by you, my poet friend, and to be hosted by these poets I love and admire, and to see poet friends in the audience like Michael Quattroni, Kate Marvin, but also all these exciting new faces. And I just learned that my neighbor is a poet, Julian Koslow. Welcome. KGB helps, I think, connections come to light. And in that way, I feel like we were almost at the bar, that we kind of discovered this connection because of the reading tonight. So I'm going to read, I wasn't going to read the poem Ancestry that Matt mentioned, but because he mentioned it, I think I will. The book is divided into three sections. The first section is mostly set in a kind of rural Midwestern post-industrial landscape and deals with origins and lineage and youth. The middle section is a love poem that's kind of set against the backdrop of what a hard place where I'm from was to come out. And the third section are poems that just kind of emerged in my life as I was writing them. So they're poems mostly set in an urban setting and having to do with the complexities of adulthood. So I'll begin with Ancestry. I never know who's looking out from my eyes, sadistic German Catholic or silent Appalachian clockmaker. The sky is so blue today as I drag the neighbor boy to the bus, the onion farmer in me against the army vet in him. There's the army vet in me too. He gets things done, like taking my daughter and the neighbor boy to the bus, even if one is having a tantrum. The older children are on the bus and I take the baby inside. There's the opera singer in him and the opera singer in me, failed, both of us. There's the gossip columnist, the one who wore furs in Shalimar and the dairy farmers. There's the poet who had seances and the dead who talked and talked to everyone but her. She's glad to be playing on the floor with the baby, glad to come with me to the kitchen to cook him eggs. There are the small game hunters, banjo pickers, football coach. The general manager of the factory and the factory lineman are both here, looking into my mirror as I pin my hair and put on earrings. There's the hairdresser. There are the twins. Both were painters and stopped painting at the same time when one of them died. There's the other pair of twins, alto and soprano. They're arguing about my outfit, but I don't have time to change. I just have to go. I put on my coat, say goodbye to my son and the neighbor who came to watch him. The onion farmer's vicious wife is putting on my gloves. There are the ones who played ice hockey, but they're not helping. It's so cold. This unending winter might break me. Now I'm inhabited by a whole group of the good-for-nothing ones, with their sidelong looks and wispy hair, delicate, who never made their mark or even had a trade. Every day we leave together. They walk me to the train. And thank you. And this is a poem called Before. I was exquisitely thin, having just mowed the yard. I was hungry, but put off eating to lie in the grass by the paddleboat dock, the summer feeling I want to pay for. There were wildflowers exploding behind the aluminum fence. There were rocks so smooth from the water. No, that was you. I was so young that I did calisthenics every night to be ready for what had to come my way. I was so broke that I changed into my bandana skirt in the employee bathroom. We had nothing to do but break into the golf course at night and know nothing about the constellations. When I saw you high in the supermarket 2 summers after moving away, we had nothing to say. I was so young that I brought the boxer who sat in my station after his dishwashing shift a glass of milk. He ate beef Manhattan, green beans, and a piece of peanut butter pie. He was you. I was so thin that I never ate the lunch special. I could have leapt from the railing of my father's porch. I had no sense of my body's limitations. I did, and we lie side by side on the golf course talking about how a person didn't need to go to college. We were so young, and you had just shorn your white blonde curls. We were so broke, and we didn't touch, except I ran my hand across your scalp sometimes. I was walking from the parking lot of the foundry to the foundry office to see if they had filing jobs. You came out and said, "What are you doing here? Turn around." Later you said, "But this is home." We were so young, so broke, existing on a thin, faint hit of life amid the over-fertilized bean fields and half-closed factories and wet asphalt, the vapor that was me and the vapor that was you. And I'll read one more from this section. White. My children are white. I'm just as white. Writing it, I'm not less white. When she was born, I said, "She is so beautiful." He said, "She looks like a white baby. She looks white." As kids, we thought we could stop using aerosol hairspray. We thought we could go on eating snow cones, tanning in the yard, pulling our straps to see our tan lines white. But the white people left the lights on all night, every night, burned up everything, burned through what's underground and dug deeper, burned up the sky, burned through brightness into brightness, leaving holes. The sun says, I see you, each and every white one of you. I see you, cancerous, half blind, white. And skipping ahead to the middle section of the book, this is one long poem. It's called As Made, and it's dedicated to my dear friend Michael Dudley. And I'll read an excerpt of this. We were made for each other. God gave a little shrug. Star-crossed, crossed again, double-crossed. The black galaxy touched clumps of dirt creaking there. This is my story of our story. It reaches back into time. What part of us still knows how the stars pinned us, how the night sky held us after each lifetime before swirling us up again, sending us back into this? On one day of each generation, going back endlessly, we married. The wedding was in the Methodist church, the Baptist church, the Catholic church, my mother's living room. I wore a Sunday dress, a cotton sheath with sash, a powder blue suit, a white satin dress, pins left in. You wore a dark suit each time. We slept on a bed of gravel, glass, sticks, nails. A poem is private. No one reads a poem, but someone in trouble. I went to the Catholic Church. You went to the Church of God. My church was so opaque. If anyone there felt anything, they kept it quiet. I liked getting to sing, speak all at once with the others in a kind of poetry. I liked the stained glass, the papery yeast of the wafer, the smell of the wafer on my mother's breath. I liked the sip of water mixed with sweet wine, the faint smell of incense. I liked the priest saying one thing had instantly become another. I like the art in it. The art of your church seems simple, unworthy of you. Did you try not to judge the language that seemed bought at Kmart? The upbeat music? Did you enjoy the cheerfulness? The Catholics were humorless, but at least there was privacy. I know that you, though, were expected to let Jesus all the way into your heart. I saw a young life brochure showing how. Plan a night you could be alone, schedule a kind of date with him, make a meal and set 2 places. There was a cartoon drawing of a teenage boy with food set out for 2 and a hazy, handsome man in robes half sketched across. It wasn't supposed to be symbolic. It was an exercise like poets devise. He was really supposed to show if you believed. I never asked you what you thought of the expectation that you get so close with this muse, half guy, half God, who seemed great, but who was also supposed to be your most judgy friend. Did you let him into your heart? What did he do there? Our young selves are gone as much as anything or as anyone or anything that has ever lived is gone, which is to say, never over. We went on dates as friends and then chastest boyfriend, girlfriend. We watched Legends of the Fall at the Castle Theater. I couldn't pull myself together at the end. Teenaged feelings unleashed at the tragic final scene. And you know, the electricity of 2 people sitting together in a theater who haven't yet really touched. There was some of that, but the fizzing and sparks, not between you and me, but between you and me and gorgeous young Brad Pitt, moody and doomed in a landscape we recognized. We were made of bits of opal, corn silk, malachite, cave mud, the wine red interior fabric of your old Chevette. You worked harder than me, wanted to be taken seriously. You wanted children, a career. You wanted a dignified life. I wanted to do well enough to be put in the smart kid classes where the conversations were good. Is it a kind of queerness? Loving someone queer? No. But what is it? What is mine and isn't mine to confess. We had to cycle through something. We lived so many lives together. We were and weren't, were and weren't. We were sitting together on the band bus, scrunched low in the seats, resting our heads against each other. We were holding hands on hay rides, and then we weren't. This is my story of our story of being young and the disaster we averted. There was Mary Todd and Abraham, Franklin and Eleanor, and I wanted you to lie. Your parents wanted you to lie. Your church wanted you to lie. We were cast as Elizabeth and John Proctor in the fall play. Probably at least somewhat believable as a long married couple tormented by a secret and misguided neighbors. There was the feeling of impossible love. There was love, but it wasn't possible. I found out you carved in your desk freshman year at college in Latin. It's not my fault. I can imagine you learning a whole dead language to be able to write just that. I'm holding my girlhood in my hands. I see your face as it was then, cute and queer and perfect. You saved us. I never told you I was grateful. We are what's written in the dust on the hood of the old Chevette. Thank you. And now I'm going to read some poems from the last section. And I think KGB Bar is a great place to virtually read some poems that are about appetite and thirst. So I'm going to open with the poem that was included in the mailing today. What to eat. The way to be a powerful 40-year-old woman is not to eat. The way to be a powerful 50-year-old woman is to order sparkling water. The way to be a powerful 45-year-old woman is to cross your arms and stand back when the birthday cake is passed. To be incredibly powerful at 20, don't eat. At 30, it helps not to eat. At 60, you can be powerful not eating. A 70-year-old Italian countess orders only steamed vegetables and has a 50-year-old wife. Actresses interviewed for magazine profiles order steak frite, chowder, beer, pieces of pie, and coffee, but we know they don't eat. A man, a famous actor in his 50s, sat with a journalist at his own coffee table. He blinked back a headache and ate chopped salad with oil-free vinaigrette. His decorative girlfriend wandered past. To be powerful and artistic and a man, it is good not to eat. What to eat? Almonds soaked in water for 20 minutes, rice milk, avocado, fish. I can see the wonderful things that would happen for me if I would not eat. Just like my sister. She locked herself in her room and stayed there for months. She had her baby, gave it away, and went back to her room. She ate only boiled chicken and apples. She emerged thin, with just enough suffering legible on her face to make her truly beautiful. This next poem is called Thirst. Unclouded third eye and lush red wings, I'm pouring water from cup to cup. This is the water we're meant to drink with the other animals. There are daffodils by the water, a road leading from the water to the shining crown of the sun. My white hospital gown off the rack and totally sane. My foot unsteady though, heel held aloft, missing its stiletto. 9 months sober emblazoned on my flat chest in red below girlish curls and mannish chin. You can't see my eyes. You've never seen them. And this is a poem called Dusk. The moment when everything has to be finished or abandoned. It can never be finished, so abandoned. Every day, how to quit the day, walk out. The light, it gets sharper before it gets darker. Look, the shoes I wore when I was 10 are on my feet again, glowing white. The trees saved up their color all day and are throwing it off while the sky goes gray. A truckload of yearning is dropped at my door each dusk. The shipment stacked sharp against the pink silk sky. It's night's work to prepare it, arrange it, clean it, cook it, or blurry, slip into it. I just want to be pushed against a wall and kissed by a drink, held at the swerving tip of a green stem. If pleasure wastes, uses up the thread, unspooled, unable to quite spool again, I don't care. I want to be unspooled by a drink. I want the dimmer switch pressed and turned. I want the incandescent light. I want the privacy of a drink. I want to pick the meat off the bone, drag it through salt alone. I want the taste of oblivion. In the ghost hour, when everything that's lost or gone is really gone, I want a drink. And now for any of those Dave Wilson fans out there, I know Matt Yeager is one, but I've got a few love poems for Dave Wilson. He's very shy about having love poems written about him, but I can't help it. Like a cat. You want a dog, but you are like a cat, though you hate cats, which is a very cat-like position. I want a cat, but you're allergic, so we'll get a dog who will be like me. Besides, I realize that having you, I already have a cat. You have intense fixations like a cat. Though you're tall and strong, you walk lightly on the balls of your feet like a cat. You're good at everything you ever try to do. In your reticence, you'd rather not be written about or analyzed like a cat, but you're very good to look at, to study, in your many moods and attitudes like a cat. And your affection is sudden and real, radiating mystery and heat beside me like a cat. This is the last poem that I put in the manuscript, right under the wire. I'd been trying to write the portrait of the summer husband for years because Dave, my husband, takes on this alternate identity in the summer because he teaches and he has summers off. So he becomes this like relaxed summer husband in the summer. And this is a portrait of the summer husband. You said it was like we were living on a pod on the sun, top floor walk up. You hauled buckets of soil and seeds to the roof. Your soft green t-shirt, your close cropped beard. You took me to the racetrack. You took me to the park. You said someone should create the love fellowship. Then being in love would be all we'd have to do for a year. You packed me lunches. You set up our checking. You and the mailman, the woman muttered, walking past, as you sat on the stoop reading. You and the mailman have nice legs. In a few years, we'd have our girl in the summer, you walking her for hours in a sling down Bergen Avenue, down Montgomery. But this summer, it was just us, just you meeting me halfway on my walk home from the train, you walking me there in the morning. The heat was a thrill, incessant. There was your hand with its new ring, your lips. And I'll close with one more poem. Since Matt mentioned it, I'll read The Professionals. Who decorates movie sets, sitcom stages, the kitchens used to advertise paper towels? Who decorates doctors' offices, the suite of offices of a university president of a Wall Street accounting firm? Who chose the paint color for the steel doors at the bus terminal? The window casements of the post office, who picked out the awning at the hospital entrance. All the patients in the ER waiting room are held in an embrace of turquoise and beige that was someone's decision 15 years ago. The spy in the new series has art on the walls of her DC house. When did she hang it? A set designer wondered this while hammering the nails. In the evenings and on weekends, I make the decisions one by one. Mid-century with a Victorian nod, farmhouse minimalism, scavenger maximalism with a sense of humor and on a budget. It's never quite right and never done. The Shakers hung their chairs on walls. They shook together but never touched. Is that how they could do it? Make a home and live in it all at once. Thanks so much, everybody.
You all again have the power to unmute yourselves.
Laura, you probably were reading, so didn't see a lot of the comments, but you should review.
Wow.
There's a lot of love out there for your poetry.
I really enjoyed your reading. Really enjoyed your reading. Thank you.
Thank
Fabulous,
you.
fabulous.
Is that from new book that you have out?
Mhm. Yeah, it's brand new.
And it's called
Oh,
what?
this is it. I should have showed everyone.
Oh, yes, yes.
Ghost Hour. Great.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And who's the publisher, Laura?
Persia.
RCL, yeah, it's great press.
Mhm.
Cool.
I have to check it out.
I'm trying to get the
Oh, the donation info or whatever.
oh no, I have the donation link, donation info ready to go. I just wanted to put the link to Laura's book at Bookshop in the chat.
Cool.
So if anybody wants to link right there. If you order it from Bookshop, then you're actually supporting local bookstores, as opposed to if you order from Amazon, where you're supporting Jeff Bezos. And we do like the Washington Post. I think the Washington Post is great, but wouldn't you rather support a local bookstore?
Yeah.
So yeah, so we do have to do a little bit of housekeeping. So this is the beginning of your break. If you need to go refresh your drink,
This is normally where you'd go into where the, well, I don't need to get into the particulars of the KGB bar bathroom.
with the the hand dryer louder than jets taking off from runways. The
I love
incredible.
Point Matt Yeager used to put a sign on those things because they're what he's referring to is extremely loud dryers that interrupt when someone's reading, like hand dryers. You hear it down the hall, and he wrote "comrades," like.
Please
don't use this, whatever it was after that. But
Пожалуйста.
you're muted, Matt.
Sorry, I've been reading I've been reading a biography of Stalin.
Sign somewhere, and it was like comrades, like please refrain from using the hand dryer, and instead use these paper towels. Like there was a Jay-Z, it was like it is as loud as a motorcycle or something. I think wrote it in like the straightest white is like it is loud in the way that motorcycles also are. Something like that.
Right, because like the motorcycle can't be quiet. Like you can't run the motorcycle quietly.
No.
So, but those things are. So Matt would actually kind of religiously bring paper towels. Anyway, because they looked like they were. It wasn't like a roll of Bounty. Usually, it was like.
Well, it started that way because Seiji would get mad when I would take the cocktail napkins, and yeah, and I mean, and justifiably so. I mean, somebody gets there and their hands are all wet and they rip through $2 worth of cocktail napkins, and no, seriously, and
how many
I would bring a roll of paper towels, and then I just sit at the beginning and like tear them and get my subway pole germs all over every paper towel. I realize now. I would tear them all and put them in a stack. We had a man who was drying his clothes drying himself in one of them while Robert Polito was reading.
Like Desperately Seeking Susan, like Madonna in Desperately Seeking Susan.
Yes,
you turn the thing up so you can dry your armpits. Yeah.
Yeah, and the high speed hand dryers actually can, they can get an article of clothing dry really quickly. And I could tell another story
as compared to a commercial dryer.
Absolutely.
As compared to drying your hands, it's not so fast.
I mean, compare, it's like brushing your teeth versus what the dentist has, and so it's this marvelous drying device. But it was so loud though. Like Robert Polito, like I mean, it was like okay, we're just gonna have to,
Robert.
Yeah, stop this guy and help him, let him start over.
Okay, so if you would like to donate to KGB Bar so that it is there when we come back, there is a Fundly website.
Just put that if anybody wants to jump to it.
Oh, thank you. And you can choose a giving level. So if you give $15 on Fundly, the nice thing is you have 2 drinks waiting for you when the bar reopens. And we're getting closer and closer. I have 1 vaccine shot in already. I know a couple other people do. So, we're looking forward to it. But you'll have 2 drinks waiting for you and there's a $4 tip. The levels go up. We like to call attention to the patron level at $50,000, which gets you, we'd like to point out, a $45,000 bar tab.
Catches that you have to use it that night.
So you will if you have a $45,000 bar tab after giving $50,000. It's, if you prorate this, your accountant would tell you this is a very good deal.
It's actually, it takes a $50,000 donation and turns it into a 5,000 kind of,
Right, you can deduct $50,000 from your taxes,
Who among us hasn't
and then
45
drink.
worth of booze?
You actually can't deduct. Actually, if you really did this, you would only deduct $5,000 from your taxes. But
It was, and Seiji would insist on being the only bartender if somebody did have 50,000 to spend in a night. There'd be like enough peanut butter jelly and bread for like $50,000 worth of sandwiches, and then like just one knife, for spreading. And I don't even know how you'd manage to spend that money in KGB. It'd be a great movie.
Actually, if anyone makes the $50,000 donation, we will bring you peanut butter and jelly every Monday. If you let us know that you're coming and you've made the $50,000 donation, or whatever you like to spread on your bread.
You're gonna eat good. Yeah.
If you'd like to just make, whatever you would have spent tonight, maybe just one drink at the bar, whatever that would have been, you can also, here's the Venmo code if you would like to make a donation to KGB directly. This just goes straight to them. You won't have anything waiting for you on the other side, but it'll be there on the other side. That's the really critical piece right now.
Our fellow curator, Jada Gordon, just put in the chat also, if anybody doesn't follow us on Instagram but uses Instagram, use KGB Monday Night, and same deal, announcing poets. And there was a time when we would use it to take pictures at the readings, but it's coming back around. Hopefully we can get all these people who are coming to these digital ones all at the launch of the in-person one in the fall.
And Leia spelled Tovaryshi correct, which is the actual Russian for comrade.
Nice. I was wondering what that was.
Пришли? Не знаю.
All right, do you want to get started with the second
That
round?
was my Russian being bad, by the way. Yeah, so let's get going.
Jason, do you still have all that Soviet kitsch that you used to use to?
I do. I still have the Soviet kitsch. Do you want me to pull out the Soviet kitsch before we?
No.
I'll grab it for afterwards. We can look at samovars later.
Yeah, back in the bar. Jason used to give these things out to all the readers, but yeah, they used to also get t-shirts.
If we ever get back, and if you remind me to do it, I have a huge collection of Soviet stamps, and so I made little souvenirs for the readers. And actually, if you just ask me and give me your mailing address, I'll.
But Kate, you must have gotten a T-shirt, right? Yeah, at some point. I realize that it's half my wardrobe. I don't know about you guys, but I think I have like 3 or 4 of those, and I just wear the same shirt every single day. It's fantastic. So maybe we'll get those again someday too. All right. So are we good with business? I should probably KGB it up. Hang on. Let me get my.
Can I make one comment about the future of T-shirts?
Yes.
For KGB, if they could come in a fit appropriate for someone with tits, that'd be great.
Noted.
On that note, we turn to Alan Michael Parker. To be introducing Alan Michael Parker, I think he preternaturally views the self from outside of the self. When I read his poems, I kind of feel like he's able to view the human being almost like a zoologist would, but also able to understand kind of the material behind the mind as much as the physical, an understanding of the mind behind the mechanisms. He understands the human predisposition, the presence of mind, in which people reason falsely, know they are reasoning falsely, find ways to justify it. And yet a gigantic empathy warms his poetry for people and a shared sense of being. Here. Alan is the author of 9 collections of poems. He has received numerous awards for his writing, including the 2019 Randall Jarrell Prize for his poem Psalm, the 2018 Joanna Katharina Scott Award for his poem Virtual Villanelle, and the 2017 Brockman Campbell Award for the latter, an annual prize for the best book of poetry published in the state of North Carolina, along with 3 Pushcart Prizes the Fine Line Prize from the Mid-American Review, the 2013 and 2014 Randall Jarrell Award, the Lucille Medwick Memorial Award from the Poetry Society of America, and the 2012 North Carolina Book Award for Long Division. There are no awards left. He's the Douglas C. Hochins Professor of English at Davidson College. And here is Alan Michael Parker.
Thank you. My dogs are visiting, so if you see the wandering, that's Tulip. Wow, Laura, Amazeballs poems. Just those love poems, amazing poems. Blown away, and I've ordered. I clicked and ordered. So honored to be here, and thank you. I'm reading also from a brand new book. This is The Age of Discovery, which is just out from Tupelo. Came out in October-ish, and I'm going to be reading wholly from this new collection, and starting with a poem that owes a huge debt to James Tate. I kind of cop one of his lines and butcher it. What good is life without painting? I was participating fully in life, or so my calendar said, when I had the spiritually extravagant gift of being heartstruck, standing before a painting. Wow, everything I could see was different. Now that's art, I declared too loudly, and the people on the patio heard me. They were rearranged too, chit-chatting with Manhattans and old ideas. They decided not to sell off the planet. And the people in the timeshare were preternaturally glad to be a social organism as they rushed to their windows and then to their email, and they agreed upon an expedition to a secret waterfall, turkey on rye, swimming, awe. And the people in the break room, well, to be fair, only Mrs. Saunders, who has had such a time, decided to go to night school for social work. The painting I was watching was all green and all brown and all blue at once. Feelings happened there and in me. It was like being a plum and ripening. This poem is called Independent Survey. Press 3 now. Press *9 now. At any time in this survey, press 4. If you want a really good sandwich, press 7. Press 2 for tuna. If you were to have dinner with anyone, why not with me? If you were a different person and I were a different person, who would have been my mom? Can you feel love without your body? To picture yourself having a cool cocktail with a new friend, press 3, 1. If stanza 8 of every scripture were the secret answer, why didn't the Buddha say so? Press 6 and then press the pound sign, for maybe he did. Press 9 for a prize. If longing is enough, press 2, 2, 3 for I'm over here. Press 2 again, and then press 4. Keep pressing 7. Press 8, 2, 8, 5, 6, 3, 9, 9, 6 for I remember you. I would love to reconnect. What have you been doing? To access your childhood now, press 3, 1. To eliminate every single invisible negativity wave in the galaxy, press 3, 1. To return to the present, press 3, 1. Press 3, 1 to sign up for consciousness beyond technology. Press 4 to do this all again. I have many of my pupils there, and maybe some of them will recognize themselves here. This poem comes from a question I like to ask complete strangers. The names. What name do you call yourself when you drop a glass and it shatters, or you lock yourself out, the car still running, or you drunk text a former lover? Mine is asshole. That's my secret, angry name. Some of the women I ask begin their names with you this, you that, and some of the men use their own last names. Some of my students only claim to bellow, inchoate, but I suspect that's not true, or it will change. I tell you this because when I'm waiting for the train at the end of days, my ticket and papers lost, I will have to confess my name to the clerk, and I fear I will only recall my anger. Will you remember this conversation? Will you come see me off? The dog left right on that. Cue the tulip, the dog, out the door. Will you come see me off? And she goes. That's a dog. Virtual villanelle. Email is the conscience of the race. I love you more with every update. Delete, 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 delete. Now that we've never met, I think of you every time my laptop goes to sleep. Email is the conscience of the race. Thank you for the puppies and the GIF. I hope it's okay. I found another site. Delete, delete, option, shift, left arrow. Thank you for the pictures at the zoo. You are so real. You are so true. Email is the conscience of the race. Maybe I could make a meme of us. Maybe I could monetize our lust. Delete, delete, Control, Alt, delete. I posted my selfie on the internet. I love you more with every hit. Email is the conscience of the race. Delete, 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 delete. You're gonna just steal the fucking show, aren't you? Doghead. Okay. The microeconomics of love. I put a poem in your backup jewelry box, the one you keep at the bottom of the taxes from 2003, in order to foil the inevitable burglars. No one is safe anymore. And then I found a drawing of a lion between my two best pairs of underwear, and Lord, he was a roaring. And so I put a poem in the tall, ugly vase you love for Black-Eyed Susans. And then I found a drawing in the secret zip pocket of my ratty softball bag. And so I put a poem in your favorite green mitten stuffed in the thumb. And then I found a drawing in the cheese drawer wrapped around the cheddar I like. And so I put a poem in your Austin. And then I found a drawing of a wave and a bird in my sunglasses case. But I didn't ask why a wave or a bird. I trust you. And I didn't ask where my sunglasses had gone. And so I put a poem in your socket wrenches box. And then I found a drawing in the sugar bowl. And I'm the only one who takes sugar, one lump. And so I went to the calendar to put a reminder, to put a poem in your grandmother's teacup 10 years from now. But on that day, there was already a note to wrap a drawing around my toothbrush 10 years from now. What's a man in love to do? I took down that family photo you never liked, and I stashed our cell phones in the dead microwave, and I dumped the old-timey knickknacks and all of the mirrors into a green garbage bag dragged to the curb. And I threw the television into the neighbor's yard, and I threw the alarm clock into the other neighbor's yard, and I tossed the toaster into the first neighbor's yard to confuse that neighbor, since no one likes that neighbor. And I flushed the cheap wine from our former friend, and I burned the checkbook. And then I rassled us some victuals, and then I opened the windows, and I let the air out of every worry. We are like people waiting. We are like people waiting for a table, for the others to finish and slide by, drawing the strings of their backpacks, logging on to check the weather, sweaters and jackets shrugged into, worn like ghosts. Don't forget the umbrella. We hold the door as they head out, sneak a peek to see what they ordered and barely touched. The special today is, that's all we can read from here. Inside, family style, we sup with strangers, share photos, shopping tips, like cousins who have met at last, and finish with a saucer of orange slices, so planetary and so biblical and so tangy. Cash only, counted out, 17, 18, 19, and now the next crowd huddles by the door, and now it's really raining. In this way, our dreaming and our waking selves take turns. So I hate a lot of people. This poem is called Curses. May you run out of milk. May the milk you need be the milk of your shame. May you zip to the store, and may the store be out of milk as you step outside into a wet fog, not knowing what to do. There in your life, may there be a cow shaking her bell at you. May her bell be the bell of your failure. May the cow be the cow of your guilt in the supermarket parking lot. And do you know what's real? You do not. May you not know. May you run out of milk. May you fall asleep and forget and wake to a cow knocking about your bedroom, a cow in the shadows, maybe all shadow, shaking her bell at you until you apologize to me for what you said this morning. This is the companion piece to that poem. It's called Happy. She wants to be unhappy, so she is, which makes her happy. And she makes the people around her unhappy, which makes her happy. But now she's so happy, she's unhappy, which isn't the same unhappiness she wants. It's too easy. She would blame her father for leaving, but he wouldn't. She would blame her mother for loving her too hard, or for never admitting her own unhappiness, but her mother was clearly unhappy and taught her daughter well. Lots of people are unhappy. All of the politicians who can't keep everything they have, and the priests dreaming of somewhere else, and the people whose jobs it is to fix things, cars or teeth or diseases. These people want everyone to be unhappy, to have things that need fixing so that they can fix them and be happy. Those people always wishing everyone unhappiness. The people who step close to her, who step too close to her at the store, now they're unhappy. And letting them do that, letting them make her unhappy like that, cutting in front of her makes her happy, which would probably make them unhappy if they knew. The people on the news are unhappy, shouting at each other. They hate each other. But what do they know about unhappiness? She would show them how to find it, how to share it, how to make themselves happy, the labor that is unhappiness, the joy. Two more. Snow day. And in the morning, the cars were still parked and the people stumbling from last night had nowhere to hide, and so they didn't. And the airplanes on the runways pretended to be children ready to fly. And the secret smiled in an email, and the money rubbed together, keeping warm. And a diamond in a velvet bed dreamed a geologic dream. And the mall was a museum, and nothing else happened for a while. And the plow came around again and waved, and the pizza man had no more pizza, and knowledge knew its feelings, and the hard drive forgot to hum, and the little hammer waited next to the heart, and luck with a bow closed the door, and the light unpinned your hair, and the light opened my hope, and your tongue was a key, and my tongue was a key, and we were unlocked, and there we stayed. And this last poem takes a couple of lines, or absorbs a couple of lines from Yehuda Amichai, one of my favorite poets. It's called Psalm. If there are gravestones, may there be shy stones, kind stones, mad stones, scared stones, thoughtful stones, and may we have a choice. And if there are hummingbirds, may there be humming walks and humming naps, humming minutes between the minutes that hum in anger, a humming table and chair by the fire, and a warm and humming towel to wrap us in. If there are thunder clouds, may there be whisper clouds and echo clouds, clouds the rustling of linens, giggling clouds scampering, and clouds to call a child home. If there are heavy sighs, may there be sighs that float or sink or rise, and sighs that drift away, and sighs to take us from our sighs. And may the weeping willow, the weeping red bud, and the weeping cherry weave of their weeping an evening gown. And when we come to the end of days, may we come to a beginning. And if there is a time keeper, may there be a time giver. And if there is a guardhouse, may the house be safe, unguarded. And if there is an ocean view, may we see what the ocean sees, the little boats of our bodies nudged into the tide. Thanks.
You can unmute yourself again.
Woohoo!
Yay! Wonderful, both of you.
Great. Like both you guys, so good.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Yeah, same as with Laura. All the love still in the chat. I would take a look.
Oh yeah.
You know, it always feels good to be liked, I suppose.
Better than the opposite.
You mentioned James Tate. A particular
So
influence on you?
I'm sorry?
The James Tate line, is he a big influence of yours, or?
Yeah, you know, he's a big influence, but he's so, as well as so many of the greats, but he's so inimitable that it took a long time to process that influence. I can't come at the non sequitur with the same kind of zany brilliance that he can. And so I think I started trying that, and that was not the way to learn him. So I think I've learned other things about storytelling.
Just listen. I mean, probably everyone tries mimicking. You know what I mean? At first, yeah. But that was fantastic. I mean, I thought those things. But it's a world of your own too. I feel like there's a touch of that stuff, but it also kind of seems to me to be sort of what I was describing in the introduction. There's this sort of ethereal intelligence going on, sort of knows what's happening. I don't know. Really good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, we one of the things that happens is while people read, great lines kind of are then typed up into the sidebar, and I mean, they're going by, and they're just like $100 bills in the booth that you're trying to grab before you forget them. And three of us, Don, John, and myself, all typed in your line. It was like being a plum and ripening.
Huh.
And the way that you brought that poem around was so satisfying.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I saw that the two of you had written it, and then I just thought, let's just for good measure, we'll add that. 'Cause that's actually a bit of a James Tate moment in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of.
Yeah. And try not to get too self-conscious about, can I use the word plum and ever?
Yeah. Because of Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's sort of like that idea of becoming one. It's like an absurd thing to want to be, but in such a state of to be ripening is ideally like a good thing. I don't know. I guess until it spoils. But
Alan, I really loved your poem about leaving the poems for the individual and receiving the art.
Oh, thanks.
It was really beautiful.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. I luckily have the detestable neighbors, so they're really helpfully villainous.
Totally.
And they're just they arrive so often in my poems as these astonishingly easy foils for all of my worst emotions. Like, so I can play them off the love stuff which I am trying to do at the end of that poem.
And they are really terrible in real life, right?
They are really terrible in real life.
They have to be. Yeah. I have like the nicest neighbor I've ever had in my entire life. And I believe I earned him through all the bad neighbors that I've had.
Yeah.
Like
there's karmic neighbor ledger balancing going. Yeah, I think that's right.
He literally, like last year, drove my daughter's school bus. Like he's a school bus. He's just like the nicest person on earth. But he was hard to come by.
Yeah. So. Have you gone on tradeyourneighbor.com? Because I tried, and no one would take mine.
Can he hear you or she right now?
I'm sorry?
Do you think your neighbor can hear you right now? Is this?
I hope so.
I was wondering if this was like a passive aggressive. Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah.
Our worst neighbor story up until now was Jerome Sala and Elaine Equi said that their upstairs neighbors, if they watch the television above a 7, like on the, like on your little remote control, like above a 7, the neighbor's like, turn it down. And like the entire pandemic, they've had to suddenly be, because everyone's home all the time, and this had never happened before. And so they were sort of, up until now, they had won the worst neighbor award, but you may be giving them a
yeah. I'll document. I'll get back to you. This one has decided to do massive construction, which means that a portion of our view is about to be blocked.
Oh,
so
I think we hosted a bad neighbor once too. You remember the guy from Germany?
That's terrible.
Started banging the gong in the middle of the reading, and then we realized it was like 2 a.m.
That's right. We got him to bang his gong, and it was like 3 a.m. in Germany. He was in Berlin, and we were like, "That gong's amazing behind you," and he was like, "Gong," and then we're like, "Oh, your neighbors."
I have a great neighbor story, which isn't as much fun, I understand, but I have some apple trees in my backyard, and I was upsetly complaining to my neighbor that they weren't getting enough sun, and she cut down a 40-foot tree in her yard so that there could be more sun.
Don't you not have?
Me. She didn't even tell. Like I came out one day and there was just sun flooding the backyard.
But isn't that actually an orchard? Like you said you have some trees in fact. Did you actually have an orchard?
Well, I have 14 trees. It's just like a grove.
Okay.
But yeah, so, and I love her. Yeah.
Kate and Jonathan have neighbor stories as well.
They're
My
great.
neighbors actually bought my house. They were very they were like really like interested in whatever I was doing with the house all the time. And they eventually, when I put it up for sale, one of them, the man would call and pretend he was someone named Lomax and like ask the realtor questions about it. And they finally just bought the damn thing. They're really creepy. And I drove by the house the other day, and the old guy was like standing out there with like his mask and his hair grown out and like on a crutch.
Well, I'm going to stop the recording because I want to tell a story, but I don't want it to be on the record.
Oh,